podcast where I discuss with the industry expert a strategy, the tools and technologies that they use to achieve B2B success. It's time to break those departmental walls. Sales, marketing, business, CS. In the current economy, B2B needs to have a customer centric approach and focus on a same goal, which is revenue, close deals, and customer satisfaction. Let's listen to sales approach and achieve those revenue goals. Let me welcome Mr. Bill Ortiz, who holds over a decades of experience in lead generation and closing deals. Welcome, Bill. I'm honored to have you and excited to learn all the strategies to close those deals. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted and happy to be here. Like I mentioned to you earlier, congratulations on this great work and this podcast that you're doing, helping the community and bringing sounding not in the knowledge and
Thank
good
you so
advice
much.
for everyone.
Before we begin, could you please introduce to our Growth Hobbits listeners, um, introduce yourself and explain me what is that superpower to close the deals.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Like you said, my name is Bill Ortiz. Happy to be here. Right now, I'm a full cycle account executive at Novus Marketing, and I'll tell you exactly what a full cycle account executive is as we go through the interview because I have a feeling that you're going to start hearing that more and more. I've been involved in sales as far back as I can remember, over a decade. In fact, quick story for you. I started my career in sales when I was selling yellow pages. This is before the internet. I was selling to businesses yellow pages, advertising on the phone book. So I would.
I started very young. I started from offline sales. I worked for operations. I was in offline marketing. And then when we shifted to Poland, I came into this digital marketing because of the language. But nice to know you. Nice to know you. I'm very honored to have you. Really. Could you please tell me what was that superpower that to close the deals? Yeah, that's where we are looking for.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that, I didn't realize that you called it a superpower, but I always called it a superpower. One of my mentors is Jim Quick. He calls our strengths superpowers. And my superpower is, and the one thing that defines me, I've always had this positive attitude, right? Energy, if you will. I'm a firm believer that the energy that you want is the energy you have to give. So if you want to have an awesome day, you better bring some awesome energy to the table. And I've always been very optimistic, where I kind of stood above the crowd. A lot of times, folks, they can be very negative, or things are going against them and they get discouraged, especially in the world of sales. But my superpower is, being able to have a positive attitude, the right mindset. I believe that all things are possible with the right attitude, and relationships are the gate relationships are the gateway for us to reach that. And I believe that when you have that attitude, man, the universe just flows your way, and you're able to really stand out. And sales, right? We're in sales. To me, a sale is a transfer of enthusiasm. When you're enthusiastic about your product and you seem happy, people can feel it. People want that. So I've been able to really set myself apart, if you will, and stand out for having that positive energy and that positive outlook, and believing that, all things work together for good when you do the right thing.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I always tell if you do good, you're going to get good. And we have to keep learning. I love that positive attitude of. So I remember we met in Mailchimp when you were working with Mailchimp. Could you tell me a process that you were following there and what was the challenges that you come across?
Absolutely, absolutely. And for our listeners, I hope that you take some notes, because what about to share is something really relevant and important that's becoming a big issue in this day and age. In sales, as an account executive and so forth, never was I aware of what email deliverability, how it could hurt you, you know, because nowadays, one thing that Google and Microsoft and Outlook have is spam filters. And if you are caught just sending random cold emails to your prospects, you could be flagged for spamming, and that damages the reputation of your domain, it's almost like credit score, very similar to having good credit. And a lot of folks don't know this, process, where that I was working on, it was very much similar to a lot of us in this day and age who work in the SaaS industry, where we have to find our ICP. And let me give you some advice. Get to know your ICP. Find out everything that you can about that person, your ideal customer profile. Who is it? And that is so important. I gotta tell you, because if you think that you can just approach anyone, you're gonna waste your time. Well, if I start looking for that person, right? There's a lot of managers. There was territory managers, right? Some account executives have that title of a territory manager or sales manager. There's operation managers. There's a marketing manager, and they're not going to want to talk to me. They could care less, right? Because it doesn't affect them, and you're going to waste your time. But if you can find who's handling the right person who handles the outbound, the head of outbound, or perhaps someone who's directly involved in managing their AEs, BDRs, or SDRs, that person is going to want to talk to me due to the fact that what I have to offer can solve the pain. So the process was pretty, identifying your ICP, and learning who that is. In fact, a tip that I can give you is interview them, find out who they are, and before you even start selling them, just call them or send them an email. Would you mind if I send you this email? I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to make sure it resonates with you. If I were to send this to you, would you respond, right? And ask them questions. What are some of the things that are top of mind? What are three things that you could change right now? If you could step outside of yourself and you looked at your business, what three things would you change? Get all that information and find out what keeps them up, because it's going to help you tremendously when you start doing the outbound. So process was I identify your ICP, and then we would send them an email, right? But I did really good, and I think one of the reasons that you and I were able to connect is, I had days where, you know, if you book a demo a day, you feel pretty good, right? If you're booking two, that's great. The best day that I've had was 8 demos in one day. 8 demos one day, which was amazing. Now, how does that happen, right? It's a process and it's a lot of work. It's working your territory, planting seeds, right? Sending out cold emails, but doing it right, making sure that it does hit spam and that it lands in the inbox. And you do that through warming up your email in a process that you could follow. And we could share some notes on that later on in the podcast if you want, for your listeners, or if anyone's interested, they can DM you or get a hold of me and we can send them that information and the process to follow. But for the respect of time, I'll just get into the details of the process. And so identify your ICP, connect with them, right? So here's the process I follow, and I hope that it can work for you guys, because it worked for me. Basically, once I knew who my ICP was, um, I would send an introduction through LinkedIn introduction, and I would try to be, as personal as I can. That's the other thing, guys, for our listeners. In this day and age, the game has changed. I've come from a sales background where I've been in a sales room that looked kind of like, the Wolf of Wall Street. Everybody's on the phone. They have their ties on. They're closing business. That's how it was during the real estate boom. I was a loan officer at that time, and everybody was making money. You were in the office till like 10 o'clock at night, and if someone said no, I'm not interested, you'd be like, why not? Why are you gonna, you've overcome that objection by saying, what do you have to lose? You have a great opportunity. Make a decision today, and you would almost persuade that person to 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 go along with you, and you were trained that way. You can't do that nowadays. In fact, you can't even talk like I'm talking because they get scared. So you got to watch your tonality. The point is this: as you and I both know, being in this industry for a long time, we've lost the essence of seeing our customers. I don't walk into the office anymore, and if I'm doing a presentation, I can't see if your arms are crossed and you're listening, or I can see if you're rolling your eyes and say like, "Ah, when will he finish?" And I can't see, or I can't see if you're engaged, and I can tell if you're engaged. This person's gonna. I lost that touch, right? Your body language that was so important to a sales professional. Body language was everything. The energy. We've lost that because we live now in a virtual world. So by losing your body language and having losing that, and with the rise of AI in this day and age, you have to be so human and so real and so non-confrontational that it's not easy, especially if you've been trained different ways, right? So approaching, making that approach and making that connection with your customer is so relevant and important. um, Once we identify our ICP, then I would send a connection request through LinkedIn. That's the first touch, right? And I would make it personal. That's the reason I explained about being so personal. Like for example, I'll share about a specific customer that I was able to connect with that was just incredible. A gentleman by the name of Ian. Ian is like, he opened his own, he's a business owner, he owns his own company. But this gentleman has a phenomenal background. He worked in the US military and he was big in the government. He's super smart guy. He's got a PhD, very articulate, professor, military background, government background, own business. Why in heaven's name would he give, and why would he want to talk to me, right? Here I am reaching out to him on a cold email. I looked at his LinkedIn profile and I noticed one thing. He had thanked a reporter because she wrote a very nice article about him. Her name was Lauren Russell, and it was her name, the lady who wrote the article, the journalist. So when I sent my first email to him, the subject line was Lauren Russell was correct. That's all I wrote. Lauren Russell was correct. He got that email. He didn't respond. He opened it 19 times. I could see when he opened it 19 times. And I just talked a little bit about our services and I congratulated him on his success. So the first touch, send in LinkedIn connection request, make it personal. The second touch, I would send an email. So, first point, LinkedIn. Second point, send an email. Make that email relevant. Make it stand out, kind of like what I did, right? The third touch is I leave a voicemail. Even if they answer, I don't want to talk to them just yet because I want them to hear my voice. So the third touch is leaving a voicemail, and I'd say, "Hey, Ian, this is Bill calling you to send you a couple emails that may help your business. Take a look at your inbox. Let me know if it's relevant. Talk to you later," and I hang up. I almost sound like I'm a friend. I wouldn't make it like professional in a way where I'm more business, more friendly. Then I send my fourth touch is another email with a follow up. And particularly in this case, is giving them something about their industry, something that'll help them. Nothing to do with me or my services, but something that'll benefit. And then on the fifth touch, that's when I make the call, right? And I say, "Hey, Ian, this is Bill calling you from Novus. Does that name ring a bell? Does that name ring a bell?" And if they say no, they're lying because I know I've been on them all week. They're probably thinking like, "Who is this Bill guy? Is he a bill collector? Do I owe money? What does he want?" Because I sent a LinkedIn request, I sent an email, I left a voicemail, and I followed up and I gave them something of value. So on that fifth point, normally they would say, "Hey Bill, how's it going?" Or like, "Hey Bill, what's up?" It's not a cold call anymore, right? And it helps you really break the ice and connect, right? And they'll tell you, if it's not relevant because they'll know. And more often than not, they're polite. They're like, "Listen, right now it's not a good time." In fact, I've heard so many different things. Like, one time one guy said, "I just let go of my entire team, and we're trying to figure out what to do next. It's not a good time." Hey, and that's kind of like the world we live in. So if they say no for X reason, at least and you don't have to waste your time, and you can work on the people that say yes. But more often than not, my approach is like, "Hey, this is Bill calling you. Does that name ring a bell?" And if they, they'll say, "Yeah, what's up?" It was great. Mind if I take 30 seconds of your time to tell you why I'm calling? See if it's worth having a conversation? And they give you 30 seconds. And then you can, let them know the reason that you're calling, your USP, your unique selling proposition, and how you've aligned your solution with their problem. So it's important to know what problems they have. You and I were talking earlier about my philosophy in sales, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've been tremendously successful, but I don't sell. I really don't sell. I try to help. I want to help people, right? That is so important, and get enthusiastic about it. So I try to help people, right? I believe in my heart that I was born to help a lot of people and make a lot of money. Someone's got to do it, right? Why not us? And maintaining the attitude of help someone make an educated decision. Not everybody's going to buy, but you know what? It's our job to at least help and give them an advice so they can make an educated decision. And that's kind of like my Thank you. Thank you. That's kind of like my process, that 5 point process, right? LinkedIn request, then follow up with an email, leave a voicemail, another email, Call them. Once you call them on that fifth point, they know who you are. If they say they don't, they're lying. And and then you can overcome that objection. You can say, well, I sent you a couple of emails. You've probably been busy and haven't had an opportunity to review them, but tell them the reason why you're calling, and people can appreciate that without trying to be slick, or trying to put them in a position that it's not going to benefit them. You have to respect their time. I think you mentioned a little bit of tools, or do you want me to talk more about the process right now? Or
Talking about ICP a lot. You know what was the problem I used to face when I was doing outbound recently, when I was helping. Like, I've never done myself outbound, but I was helping. Like, I was working with the SDR directly, and we both were the problem we used to face is in the organization there are a couple of heads, and the who is the right person. We were going almost everybody, and no, yes, I like your approach, but I'm not the decision maker for this particular thing. I would request you to go somebody else. When we would ask, they would not answer who is that. It takes little time, almost 10-15 days we were looking for who is the correct person in that organization, even though we knew that there are 4 to 5. So could you tell me a secret, how would you find out that exact person to reach out, who is a decision maker to buy the service, or right person? How would you find that out?
that is such a great question, and a lot of people fall into that category where they know that it's somebody in management, but they don't know exactly who, and they spend a lot of time wasting their time, calling the wrong person, and like you said, it's a waste of time. The way I've been able to do it and been successful is I strongly recommend that when you start with working in your organization, in sales, either as an SDR, BDR, account executive, whatever your role is, right? And you want to identify your ICP, is look at your customers you currently have. Is there patterns there, right? What are the patterns, right? Study those patterns. Because he's always late and he missed a payment. Uh-oh, that's a risk. Past performance is the best indicator of the future. So look at your past history with the company. Who are your customers? What is there common patterns there? And it's a little bit of work, but you got to study and see if you can find out, what roles, what was the title of the person who bought, who do we approach first, right? And that's where you have to have really good CRM and good notes and find the ICP. The other way is using Sales Navigator, and I think we talked about that. I love Sales Navigator because you can really hone in on who that person is. When you go to Sales Navigator and you do a search, it also shows you, it shows you, like for instance, who are all the decision makers and who's involved in the department, and then it even shows you who reports to them. And that information is so crucial, right? Because you can see who's reporting what and who the relevant person is.
Thank you so much. It was great. Two tips that I have learned. One is, yes, I'm using now Sales Navigator, but I didn't know that I was not checking the who's reporting. So I have to even check that part. That is very good point that you said. And of course, it takes initial to find out the correct ICP and reaching out. So it is a lot of effort, and really kudos to you. Thank you so much. So can we just talk more about the numbers? When you say in a day, how many emails or how many in a sorry in a day, could you tell me how many emails you are able to send, and how many outreach you are doing
Absolutely.
approximately,
So,
maybe?
doing outbound sales, it's become a challenge, I think, for everybody. So, the way that I would be able to send on a daily basis, I would send around 300 emails on a daily basis, 300 emails. Yeah, and I would also make close to 100 calls. That's not easy. And then also, I would send out 25 to 30 LinkedIn Connect requests every day. You have to do that if you're going to be a top producer, because otherwise the percentages are just not going to match. You may get lucky sometimes, but quite frankly, I don't like to build a sales plan on luck. I have to build it on steps and on metrics, right? That's the other thing, as I tell you, as far about the numbers and how many I send out. For our listeners, I strongly recommend and I beg you to become a metrics driven person. Metrics are everything, they'll help you out. What do I mean by that? I learned at a
Wow.
young age that it takes 20 no's to get one yes. 20 no's to get one yes. So if I'm calling you and I'm on my 14th no, right? I'm like, I get excited, I get happy. Yes, I got 6 more to go. So when you hang up on me and say no, I don't get mad. It doesn't bother me because I know that it's a process and I'm getting closer to my yes. So I understand the numbers and how many calls I have to make to get that yes. I gotta focus on that yes. You have to be resilient. That those metrics help you also as well, because you can, once you know your metrics, how many emails to a connect and a demo booking, how many calls. If you want to make more money, double your output, right? It's, I mean, numbers don't lie. How would I do that without getting caught in spam, right? Because that's a lot of output going on. So I would recommend that you find out and you use what is called you warm up, like a warm up tool. And what that basically means is that you're going to use 5 different email addresses for being sent out on your behalf from 5 different locations, and you can send, maybe 50 the most on each one, and they're in a sequence, right? That will allow you to really, send out the emails, and without you being flagged for spamming. I recommend that when you first start that process, you don't do 50 at a time. Start with 3 or 4 and gradually start moving up until your email is warm. That's how I was able to reach my goal. I was at Mailshake and I had one email address that I managed, but we had what is called the warm up email tool that was in the background sending messages on my behalf, right? And that would happen all throughout the day, so I can bulk up my numbers. Then also you may want to have, get yourself what is a power dialer, a dialer that just dials for you, because that's a way that you'll be able to really connect with customers. Even though a lot of times nowadays, with people changing jobs so much, it makes it hard to keep track and find out where they're working, or what the number is. The best thing that you can do is keep trying. Don't be afraid of the phone. People don't like to pick up the phone. The phone, let me tell you something, and remember this, the phone is the fastest way to a meeting. You can pick up the phone and connect with someone, and it's hard. Not everybody can do it. But you know what? Remember, sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. The first sale happens with you. Convince yourself why you would buy it, and then you have no, to answer your original questions, you have to say, I would send about anywhere from 250 to 300 emails on a daily basis through a warm up email tool. Then also, I will use a power dialer to make the calls, and I try to focus on sending out 30 DM requests a daily on LinkedIn to connect. And by doing that, I was able to really increase my numbers. When we're talking about numbers, I'm talking about over my quota 120%, where I'm making good money now because I'm 120% above quota. When, just to bring it in layman's terms, let's say you're an SDR and you book one demo. Best day I had, 8 demos one day. 8 demos. Now that doesn't happen overnight. You have to work your territory, right? And what I mean by territory, we should all be familiar with our territory and almost take the farmer's approach. A farmer, when they plant seeds, they're not expect to see, the harvest the next day or the next day. It takes a while. You have to work the ground. You have to put fertilizer. You have to water it. You have to take care of it. You have to protect it from, the birds who eat it. Same thing we have to do, right? You have to send that initial contact, make that phone call, work your territory, plant your seeds. There's a story that I love about the bamboo. Not sure if you know about bamboo or how it grows, but the bamboo, the story is told that, that you plant a bamboo seed and you don't see any growth for like 7 years, nothing. Imagine not seeing any movement for 7 years. But there comes a point where it sprouts and just grows. I mean, by feet, by like 12 feet. And it's just, everybody's like, whoa. Well, guess what, folks? If you work this strategy the way I'm telling you, you're going to get to bamboo season, where you're going to come and you're going to see your pipeline. Whoa, you can wake up in the morning and have 3 meetings booked and you didn't even call anyone that day. Go on vacation and your book of business is being, filled with leads or with prospects that are booking on your calendar because you've done the right things and you've worked. It's a process, but it's well worth it.
Love this. You have to know your territory. That is fantastic. I love that even. So when we're talking about tools, we are going to talk about tools. But before I know about more about tools, so how big your team was?
So at Mailshake, we have 5 SDRs, and then we had 5 account executives, but they were work the inside. So account executives were working kind of like the inside, right? They would receive the calls, and the SDRs would do the outreach, the outbound. And we didn't get any calls. What do you say? At the end of the day, you sell you. They buy you. They buy your attitude. They buy your your charisma, they buy your tenacity, they buy your communication, they buy that essence that you are, that you bring to the table. Don't try to be like your manager, don't try to be like the top performer. Be you, the best version of you, so they can buy it and understand. Because ultimately we start as sales reps.
They buy you. I agree. They buy you. They buy your charisma. I agree that absolutely. So which are the tools that you are using for all the
Yep.
outreach?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because I think I know I'm a good candidate to speak on that, because I've used a lot of different tools. I worked for a company called LoadSmart, who's a Fortune 500 company, huge, mega teams, different departments. Fortune 500. They have offices in Brazil, Chicago, New York. Man, it's crazy story, because the office in New York. I mean, it was in prime location. They were spending millions for that office, and then COVID hit. Nobody was going to the office. It's just that's it's just ludicrous, right? But at that location we use Salesforce. So I use Salesforce, Salesloft, and we had a power dialer. So I've used those tools, which are great. They're great tools. However, they're very pricey, for the startup person or for a smaller company. And I don't recommend that. I mean, if you have the budget, even if you have the budget, I wouldn't recommend to go that route, due to the fact that you kind of have to grow into that system. One of the things that, Salesforce, as great as it is, there's a lot of notes that you have to put in, and documentation. You have to document everything, and then it uploads it onto the cloud so everybody has access, which is great. However, it could be painful sometimes and time consuming for someone. So, I've used Outreach, I've used Salesforce, Salesloft, and I recommend that you look into different platforms. Like HubSpot is great, right? They also have a free version of the CRM, and it's great. However, don't just leave it HubSpot alone. I recommend that you implement either a company like they're called Smart Lead. They're very good, right? Smart Lead is someone that I would strongly recommend. Smart Lead and Instantly is doing a great job. And my experience was with Mailshake. Mailshake is a fabulous platform, fabulous. And even though I'm no longer with the company, I love that platform, and I'll tell you why. It did the job, and it kept it simple for me. What do I mean by that? It came with a power dialer, so I could dial. I could just click one button, and it aligned all the people that I wanted to call, and it was just dial for me. The calls are free in the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. So and then also you can run your email sequence through that platform, and it helped me be efficient. So if you're on a budget, I strongly recommend you looking into them, or look into it's called Smartly. They're very, very good. Also, I respect the founder, and what they're doing is very ethical, very good companies. Apollo is another company that's good. Some of the issues I've had with Apollo is that it doesn't give me all the numbers that I would need, because I think we talked about this. You're using Sales Navigator, you find your ICP, you have a list. How do you connect with them? They're all, how do you connect with them now, right? So I would recommend using, some people use Apollo for that information, because you can export once you save your list in Sales Navigator, you can export it, and then you can add it onto Apollo. And then it should give you the emails, and it should also give you numbers, but they don't always give you the numbers. So another platform I use and I would recommend is Seamless AI. Very, very good platform. 80% of the time, the information was correct. So I'm able to get real numbers and emails for my customers, and then I can connect with them. So you definitely want to be able to use, your CRM, which I would recommend HubSpot. If you could, or some people will go directly to, well, you have HubSpot, and you can also use Pipedrive. Pipedrive is a good CRM, and it's not very pricey. However, it's not going to give you the information that it's just going to manage your client base, right? A place where you can put in your deals and so forth. But it has to be, your tech stack has to be a combination of, Salesforce. That's a staple. You have, in my opinion, if your ICP is in LinkedIn, make sure you have Salesforce. It's a game changer. And from Salesforce, importing it either into Seamless or Apollo, because now you can get the phone numbers and the info, and then whatever platform you're going to use, whether it's Mailshake, Simple Lead, there's the other one, I think it's called Woodpecker, that I noticed. I was reading on them. They seem to be pretty good at a much better price. And then ultimately, sales loft it's also good. However, sales loft could be a little bit pricey too, right? So those are the tools that I would recommend. And also, with AI now, you may want to use. Okay, I'll back up a little bit. One thing also that I liked about Mailshake is that they did have an AI writer. Now, I'm not recommending that you let AI write your emails because people will know and they're not going to want to talk to you, right? So, what you want to do is if you're stuck and you can't think of the right words or you word it, sometimes, I recommend you can use AI so it can give you a framework. Then you can take it and mix it with your own words and make it personal. That's how AI is used, and you need that AI in the essence that it helps you also identify your target, right? Um, One other thing that a tip that I want to recommend to you guys. Let's say you have on the ICP. Remember we talked about that. How do you find it? Okay, once you look at your customer base or customers that you've closed currently in your company, look them up in Mailshake, right? Excuse me, Mailshake in LinkedIn. You look them up in LinkedIn. It's going to show you on the side other companies similar to that one that people have looked at. So right there, you know that that's their competition. What better way to call someone there in the same role that the person who bought it and say, hey, we've been helping this company. We could probably do the same for you. And right there, you'll know exactly. You'll have some quality individuals that may benefit because you helped someone in the same industry. Those are the tools that I would recommend having, right, and that you need. But if you, like I said, if you can afford it, definitely you can, get Salesforce, which is a great CRM, but normally is more designed for an enterprise company.
So let's conclude, for a small SMB type company, you would recommend HubSpot. Again,
Yeah.
HubSpot is expensive, right?
Well, they have a free version. They do have a free version. Now, you're going to go crazy using the free version because they don't give you all the info that you need, right? But you can use HubSpot and then there's certain links that you can add there. And adding that will give you that perfect combination. So if you're using HubSpot, like for example, HubSpot and Mailchimp was a great combination. Great combination. It worked. Everything that HubSpot didn't give you, Mailchimp gave you. It gave you the dialer, the analytics. Analytics is very important too. Very, very important. You want to have analytics because you're able to see trends and you're able to see, you want to A/B test, like maybe perhaps a different campaign worked where another one didn't work, right? And I'll give you a great example on how that is. You know, a lot of times people, your customers will tell you. One time I called one of our customers and I asked them, what is it that you like, and I told them, would this message resonate with you? And it was the milkshake claim to fame was, we're simple to use. We're simple. You don't have to waste a lot of time training. Very plug and play. Very simple. And when I asked them if that was important to them, they said no, they could care less. What they liked was the analytics and the functionality and so forth. So we were missing it, right? However, once they bought the product, they liked the simplicity, but our original message they didn't like. So we had to change that and change it to a way where, like, hey, we've noticed that companies are struggling with email deliverability because they have more SDRs now and they're doing outbound, and probably 30% of the leads are going to spam. Does that seem relevant? Are you having that issue, or you guys have that figured out? And they would say, no, we're having that issue. So now, but they could care less about how simple it is. They don't want to know. And we had it wrong. So ask your customers what they care about. They told us exactly what they care, and we were able to change our message so we could resonate with them.
I love this. So let's sum it up. You would say HubSpot and Mailchimp, and you will take all the leads from LinkedIn Sales Navigator and you will put that in Apollo, or you will put it in Seamless AI,
That- That's correct.
and then you will put it in the CRM, right?
That is correct. Then it can go into your CRM. It seems like a process that but it's very easy once you set it up. Once it's set up, you'll thank yourself later because you'll be on autopilot and you'll really be able to be productive and cut through, navigate through this challenging market. It's challenging, so you have to be in tune with data, adapt to change, and be open to try different things. Not everybody has the one solution, so you have to use sometimes some multiple different projects, and take it for someone who's done it in the testing. I've tested out for you guys that are listening and you're considering. I've done the test work for you, and yes, Salesforce is great. very expensive. You're going to waste a lot of money, and you may not need it because they're going to sell you features that you may not need, right? And then so use something else like HubSpot or use Pipeline, more affordable. And then if you're going to use your CRM, your platform, to engage your customers and email, you don't have to go with the most expensive one. You can use Mailchimp's a great option. Simply is a great option. Woodpecker, you can use that company as well, and or Apollo could be good as well, right? The only thing that I noticed with Apollo, I don't always get the numbers, and when I do, they're not always accurate. In the past, historically, I remember it was Zoom Info and Salesforce. That's it. Everybody just used Zoom Info and Salesforce. That was very expensive, very expensive. So now there's other options.
Can we just so thank you so much. It was very nice. So good combination. HubSpot and Apollo Seamless AI and Sales Navigator, right? Since we know all these tools, can you tell me what all the intent data that you've been taking from which
Absolutely.
tool, which intent data you're taking? So let's talk that way.
I think the one that has helped me the best is again Sales Navigator, because they do have a question there. For instance, you can select, are if they have, like, I'll give you an example. You can select if your prospect has looked at certain tools, and you can select, Google Analytics. You can select different tools. You can select, or it gives you a question, if they looked at marketing materials or sales engagement platforms. So now you know that they're looking. It'll give you the list of the persons who have done that search. That is very, very crucial. And you can get that information through Sales Navigator, right? And I mean, it's like, like when I look at my leads on Sales Navigator, like some of the filters that it has, right? It's like, okay, if they're following intent data, here's a good one, a good answer for you. There's a lot of leads that a lot of you guys have right now that you may not be aware of. You know who they are? People who are following your company. So Sales Navigator will show you who's following your company. I remember one time I did a campaign, and I just added that feature. People, and I noticed 16 people that were following our company. I put in the names in our CRM, and nobody had contacted them. Nobody. I called them. 8 of them bought that same day. Oh, Bill, thanks for calling. Yeah, I follow your company. I was thinking about, you know, and one guy, listen to this. One guy even told me, "Whoa!" He was, I was just talking about mail deliverability and what a problem it is, and you guys were on my list to call. Are you guys psychic or something, right? He said that to me, and it was because I looked at that intent data. So there's certain fields on the search bar that you can put when you're looking for leads on Sales Navigator, like who is following your company, connection request, also, like, buyer intent. And buyer intent, you put in, like, for instance, are they looking for software? Are they looking for marketing, email, sales engagement? So you can put those filters and get a very good idea.
Yeah, looking at the intent data is absolutely important, and I love that. So if somebody is looking for particular tool, so that is particular software, so that means he's interested in buying software like ours, and perfect. I would like that.
Absolutely. Also, when we talk about intent data, something that helped me, like, I'll give you an example. Like, my ICP was a sales leader who managed SDRs. He had to be, if he wasn't managing SDRs, it wouldn't make sense, because SDRs do a lot of outbound, they do a lot of calling, they do a lot of emailing. So I needed to find that. So on Sales Navigator, you can select groups, and I would select the groups, and there's a lot of SDR groups. So if he was in one of those groups and he was a sales manager, I would call him, and I found a lot of folks who were part of those groups who were not SDRs, but they were managers. Definitely, 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 target them. So you can do it by groups, right? And things that they're gonna buy, that they're gonna purchase. And then the other thing that I would recommend is think outside the box. How can you think outside the box? So a couple things that I do, that I would recommend is go on G2. Have you ever been on G2 and read the reviews? You may go on G2 and read reviews on people who were talking bad about your competition. Let's say I'm working with Mailshake, and my competition is Outreach. So I'm looking at Outreach, and I see all these negative reviews. Oh, well, they didn't do so. I can call that person, look them up, and say, "Hey, I understand that there was a point in time you were disappointed with Outlook. Did you ever get that fixed?" And then do a real quick, very gentle introduction, and I could say, "You know what? I understand how you feel. I know a lot of people who felt that way. Here's what they found." So think outside the box. Go to G2 reviews, and ultimately, if you have the opportunity to join a community like Rev Genius or other communities, there's tons of communities out there that you can join. Get involved because sales has evolved, and the one thing that we've lost through the pandemic was that connection. But we could still connect. We can't go to networking events anymore because you're going to get sick or something, and people are afraid. So how do you connect? Go through networking events, and connect in your community groups. Help, but don't just go there to ask and be fed. Give something. If you can only give a like to their comment, do it. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you see something or someone that you admire, just say, "Thank you for sharing that. Very good insight." Like their comment. You start doing that, then you'll be able to ask. Because I'm a firm believer that in sales, you got to earn the right to ask for a sale. I remember when I was selling, and I would have to ask for the credit card. That's very personal information. How do you ask for someone to give you your credit card? And I would do it. I would get it. But you have to earn the right. How do you earn the right? By being asking relevant questions, building rapport, gaining trust. You have to come across very personal. If people like you, they'll listen. And if they trust you, they'll buy. And you only have a very small period of time to get that across. So you have to, make sure that you're prepared on every call to do that, right? So you can join a community and get people to either connect with them there, right? And don't just go asking, see someone that's like your ICP on a community and just go straight for the close right away, right? I mean, you have to be tactful, right? And just ask them, "Hey, want to introduce myself? Would love to follow your journey. Can I, be part of your network?" And start slowly, like some of their comments, comment on them, and then eventually, you'll see that things will work on your behalf. Um, that's something that has helped me tremendously with intent data.
Congratulations. It was really nice journey. So when you talked about 300 emails that you send, 100 calls do you do, and then how much time do you give like a manual research? So how do you balance that time? So mail sending and actual work and research work, because when I do research I get lost sometimes. So we have to come back on track. So how would you do that? How would you balance your time?
Are you ready? I love the fact that you're asking me that question. I just absolutely love it because I could not. I also got lost. There was a point in time where I was spending way too much time on LinkedIn because you're reading about someone and you get so excited and I can get really, uh, determined on helping a company, and the more I know about them, but that takes a lot of research, right? And you have to do activities. Listen to this carefully. Do activities that are going to put money in your pocket and in your company's pocket. Make sure you're doing those activities, because if you're doing activities that it's not generating you money, you may not be around for a long, long time. So the key to that is being disciplined and having a schedule, right? And being adamant about your schedule. My experience is that I found out that the best SDRs, the best BDRs, the most successful ones were those that were disciplined about their process. And just like you have a sales process, you have to have a daily process as well. So the process for me was help. I put it together with my previous manager, Jed Marley. The guy he's so good that he had me time myself. I had a timer, and I cannot be on someone's LinkedIn profile for more than 2 minutes. If I've gone over 2 minutes, too much time. So it forces you to be fast and do it and be relevant. And the way I would break out my day is this. Ready? 7 to 8 in the morning, clear your inbox, respond to Slacks, and get your day set up, right? Between 8 and 9 a.m., I would add 30 leads to HubSpot, Apollo, or in Sales Navigator. I would do my prospecting. 9 a.m., if we had a team meeting, I'd be ready. From 9:30 to 10, I would complete personalizing emails in my LinkedIn task, send them out from 10 to 12. Blocked for outreach. I would make my phone calls. Even my manager knew that I shouldn't be disturbed between 10 and 12, because my goal between 10 and 12 is make 50 calls or book one demo. That's the goal, and I have to try to stick to it, right? Between 10 and 12. From 12 to 1, I would take my break and I go to lunch, then come back, and from 1 to 3, call block, right? Call is called call rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. It's what they say in
Oh.
boxing, because it's a fight, and you got to get yourself right to get into, in that mindset. So from 1 to 3, again, calling. What is the option and what is the goal? I have to make 50 calls by 3 p.m., book one demo, or at least minimum have 5 relevant conversations. You do that every day, you're going to be disciplined, and you have to time yourself, because if you don't do that, you're going to get lost and spend too much time where you don't need to. From 3 o'clock to 4, I would finish my remaining tasks. And then as I got more, as I evolved in my role, between 4 and 5, I would take time to either fill out your KPI tracking report, right? Optional check-ins with in time blocks with either your team or your manager if you need to. But this is something that I would recommend also. If you can, prepare yourself for the next day. So when you come back the next day, you already know who you're going to call. You already have that in mind. You're already set for your next day. And you don't have to come in trying to figure out, who am I calling today? A good sales professional should know the day before who you are calling. In fact, let me take it one step further. Back in the day, before all this went out in sales, a sales professional was never working on this month. Like for instance, right now is October. Would I be working on October's quota? That was crazy. October quota was already in the books. We used to work on November. You were always like a month out. That was relevant because you already had October in the books. Now you're working on November. And guess what, folks? Holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving, December, Christmas, and people check out around December 12th. Good luck trying to book a meeting or trying to book a sale, because everybody's thinking about, holidays, traveling. They spend their money on gifts. So you have that coming up. So a word to the wise, prepare yourself. Be ready to work diligently now, because you have a small window. I would challenge our listeners, take a look at how many business days between now and the end of the year. And then, I did something really crazy one time. I changed the hours in my day. For me, a day would not be 24 hours, it would be 12 hours. So I would have to accomplish what I need to do in a day in 12 hours. And I put that pressure upon myself, try to get my quota in by the 15th. It's not easy. It's hard to do. But once you discipline yourself to do it, and it's a lot better, guys, putting your own pressure than having your manager tap on your shoulder at the end of the month and be like, what do we got? Are we going to hit quota this month or what? What's going on? I know that it's not easy, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. And there's a reason why you're in that position. When your company hired you, they saw something in you. A manager saw something that you had to offer that was valuable. Be the best version you can be. Be disciplined, have a strategy, help and connect with people, and trust. Things will start going your way.
Using timer is something that even I have started, and that has helped me to come back on a track. And using this book, I still, even though you have all the tools, CRM and all, but using writing them down, what to do list in the night, that's what makes me up to date in the next day. The day I not write my to do list in the night, next day is my disaster. I may not, it will not be as uh, productive as much as when I write to do list. So book and pen, I cannot live without, and a timer.
I'm going to tell you something about what you said. I don't mean, what you just said is so relevant because, I mentioned my age. I come back from the old school. Back in the day, the people that were the business owners, I mean, the people with money, they all had a little book. They would carry it. They would not walk into a meeting without their book. They always they had a planner back in the day. Remember the planners? They had their planners and their organizers. Every executive, every successful individual walked around with their book and they took notes, right? So kudos to you for maintaining and being true to the game.
Yeah. Okay. So sales is being a lot of evolving situation. Before only say outbound was happening, but now it's evolving a lot, right? So how do you keep updated yourself? Could you tell me about that?
Absolutely, and that is such a good question to ask because, someone like myself or many others who've been involved in sales maybe for a long time, but you've done different types. You may think that because of your experience that you know it all, but you have to be coachable. That's the first thing. Maintain a coachable spirit and a coachable attitude. Always continue to learn. Always continue to learn and be coachable. And I mentioned a couple of things like joining a community, following someone that you respect, watch what they're doing, right? And then also, it's very important to in the job that you look for, make sure you have a mentor or work closely with your manager. Learn from your manager and learn what they did and follow that. I'll give you a great example. When I came to work for Mailshake, I had over a decade of sales experience. I feel like I could speak well and connect with customers, and at the beginning I couldn't even close a door. I mean, I couldn't even close a door. It was not working because that attitude, like, "Hey, this is Bill calling. How are you?" Click, they would hang up on me. I sounded like a sales guy immediately. Nobody wanted to talk to me. I couldn't believe it. So I was sat down with this 19-year-old girl who had to train me. She was an SDR, her first job, and she was closing deals left and right, booking demos and stuff. And it humbled me, but I was coachable and I learned because I don't know. Being from the old school, you want to give information. So my emails were really long. All the information, no one was reading them. She said, "That's too long. I wouldn't even read it." Small emails. If it's larger than your typically people are going to read them on their phone. So think about having your phone, and if your email is larger than the screen of your phone, they're not going to read it. So concise, be concise. So be coachable, right? Be coachable, and then become a fan or become obsessed with knowledge. Keep yourself updated. HubSpot has a lot of free classes they give for free where you can get certified. Look for them and get certified, right? Learn and ask questions. Have a mentor, and continue to grow. Every living thing grows. So if you're not learning and you're not evolving, what's the opposite of living? You're going the opposite way. So you got to learn, you got to be coachable, especially with data nowadays, right? And don't be a
Correct. I'm going to read that book, of course. And can you tell me how marketing, as a marketeer, how could we help SDRs to make the sales process easy?
No problem. A lot of guys, and this is mainly for the guys. Guys, I don't think women are really like that. Women are awesome, but for the guys, don't let your pride get in the way. A lot of us are proud, like I've been doing sales for a long time. Don't you know that I was a manager, or I ran a company? I'm just here because they had layoffs and they went out of business, and you let your pride get in the way. Forget about that. You could always learn, ask questions, participate, and maintain coachable. I'll say this and I'll stop with this. A book that I recommend that I read, it was called Who Moved My Cheese. I was forced to read that book many years ago by a sales manager, and I was angry. I was like, how can they force you to read this at home? They're not paying you. Why would they do that? And I was upset because I had to read it and do a report and talk about it, and I was mad. But I did it, and it was one of the best things I ever did. It's called Who Moved My Cheese. Very quick book. It's a story about some mice that are in this maze, and every day they go to this one place to get their cheese. Well, one day the cheese is moved, and they get there and it's not there. And you start seeing the mice talk like some of the people that we work with, complaining about, well, they're all complaining and they're not finding anything. They're just complaining about, the mice and the mouse that adapted change and stopped complaining, but found it. They survive. I recommend it. Read that book and it'll help you.
That's nice. Alignment is absolutely important. There is a lot of talk about marketing, sales, alignment, but I also think marketing, sales, and CS alignment, all alignment has to be together, right? So every team, every business has to work together, and I love that. We have to support each other, and we have to work towards the one goal, that is a revenue, book deals, and of course, customer success. So now, while we are reaching towards our end of the episode, could you tell me a interesting story, interesting sales speech that you remember and you will remember forever? So, could you tell me one of that?
Absolutely. That is such a profound question, and I love because right now I am working on solutions like that with the company I'm with. One of the reasons I joined Novus is because they're very personal, and they're a marketing agency who's doing phenomenal work. They care about their customers, and your success is our priority, right? Or that's our mission. And the marketing works real closely with us. So I've scheduled meetings with our marketing team, right? And we talk about, I give them examples of something that has worked in the past, and then they can put it in their own words or they can do content with it. But it's important that marketing and sales align and that they have the same mindset or the same vision. It's the only way we're going to be able to win this battle that we have and be successful, because marketing can be wanting to do, a campaign or an outbound on something that may not bring us, the necessary prospect or the results that we want. So as long as marketing is involved with sales and they're talking about content and they're, reading each other's content, have the marketing team make them go like some of the sales guys posts on LinkedIn, make them like it, promote it. They don't. They're like, you'll be surprised. Known some people that even if it's your own company, there you're not even giving it a like. I mean, doesn't it's ludicrous, right? Have them do that. Have them do that, right? And then have the sales team also help out marketing and like their posts and promote them. One thing that I do, if I find marketing content that I like, I'll send it to them and I go, look, do you see this right here? I think this would be relevant with our customers. And more often than not, I get a reply back that says, I like that. And and we become a team. We're backing each other up. Now, we're rowing in the same direction.
Problem. Well, it was fantastic conversation. We had a great knowledge and all insights for outbound cold emailing and outbound outreach, multi-channel outreach. Perfect.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure if any, I'm going to share your link below. And anybody, if you have a problem, we can reach out to you. Right?